What you're about to learn shouldn't still work. Not according to modern economists. Not according to Wall Street. Not according to any financial advisor, central bank, or government on Earth. And yet here we are, with a set of money principles that were discovered 10,000 years ago, tested across every civilization that's ever risen and fallen, and still quietly controlling who builds wealth and who stays broke. Today, right now, in your bank account. This video covers the entire history of money. Every chapter, every transformation, every lesson, in one sitting. Not in a boring textbook way. In a cold, hard, this is how it actually affects your wallet way. I've lived through the biggest chapter personally. I watched money evolve from gold to empire, and I'll show you exactly which principles survived every chapter and which ones died, because the ones that survived, they're the ones that still determine whether you build wealth or bleed it. We're going to start with the moment humans realized they needed money. Then move through shells. Gold, my chapter. The invention of banking, paper money, the digital system that's quietly draining your wealth right now, and where money is heading next. Something most people aren't prepared for. By the time we're done, you'll understand money better than 95% of people who use it every day. Let's start with the second most important chapter in this story. The first, that's mine, and it's coming. Chapter 1. The world before money. 10,000 years ago, money didn't exist. Not coins, not bills, not shells, not gold, nothing. If you wanted something, your neighbor had a goat, some grain, a tool, you traded for it directly. I have fish, you have wool, let's swap. This is called barter, and it worked. For about 5 minutes. Here's the problem nobody talks about. What if you have fish but you need a new axe? And the axe maker doesn't want fish, he wants grain. So now you need to find someone who wants fish and has grain, trade for the grain, then take the grain to the axe maker. That's 3 transactions to buy 1 axe. Economists call this the double coincidence of wants. I call it a nightmare, and it's the reason civilization couldn't scale beyond tiny villages. You can't build a trade empire when every transaction requires finding the exact right person at the exact right time. The financial lesson buried in this chapter? Liquidity matters. The ease of converting what you have into what you need is the foundation of all wealth. If your assets can't move easily, they're not really wealth, they're inventory. This is still true today. $1 million in a house you can't sell is not the same as $1 million in an index fund you can liquidate tomorrow. But here's where humans did something brilliant, and this next chapter is the one that changed everything, because it reveals the single most important truth about money that most people still don't understand. Chapter 2. The invention of money. Somewhere around 5,000 years ago, communities started agreeing that certain objects could represent value. Cowrie shells in Africa and Asia, obsidian in Mesoamerica. Salt in the Roman Empire, which is where the word salary comes from. You were literally paid in salt. And here's the contrarian truth that most people never realize. None of these things had inherent value. A shell doesn't feed you. Salt only goes so far. Obsidian looks cool, but it doesn't keep you warm. Money was never real. It was always a story, a collective agreement. We all decide this shell is worth something, and because we all agree it is, that's it. That's the entire foundation of every financial system in human history. Consensus, shared belief, a story we tell together. Why does this matter to you right now? Because the dollar in your pocket works the same way. It's paper. It's not backed by gold anymore, hasn't been since 1971. Its value exists because 330 million Americans agree it has value. If that agreement breaks, which has happened to currencies throughout history, the paper is just paper. Understanding that money is a story is the first step to understanding why some people build wealth and others don't. The people who build wealth understand the story well enough to write their own chapter in it. The people who don't, they think the story is reality and never question the rules. Here's where the story gets physical, and this is my favorite chapter, because this is where I enter. Chapter 3. The Age of Gold. Gold changed everything. Unlike shells or salt, gold was rare, durable, divisible, portable, and beautiful. It didn't rot, it didn't break. You could melt it down and reshape it. Every civilization on Earth independently decided gold was valuable, without ever communicating with each other. That's not a coincidence. That's the closest thing to universal money the world has ever seen. And my empire, the Mali Empire, sat on top of one of the largest gold supplies in the medieval world. The stuff that every kingdom from Cairo to London used to mint their currency, a massive chunk of it came from my land. But here's what I understood that most other rulers didn't. Gold isn't wealth. Gold is a tool. What you do with the gold is wealth. I didn't stack gold in a vault. I routed it into trade infrastructure, into education, into relationships with foreign powers that opened new markets. I built systems that turned gold into more gold. That's code 1, circulation over accumulation. And it's been true since the first nugget was pulled from the ground. The lesson from the gold age? Scarcity creates value, but only if you move it. Gold sitting in a vault is just a shiny rock. Gold flowing through a system is an empire. Your money works the same way. Sitting in a checking account? Shiny rock. Flowing into investments, skills, and systems. Empire. Here's where things get interesting. Because the next chapter is the one that broke the rules entirely, and it's the reason your bank doesn't actually have your money right now. Chapter 4. Coins and Trust. Around 600 BC, the Kingdom of Lydia, modern-day Turkey, stamped the first official coins. Before this, you had to weigh gold every time you traded. Is this nugget pure? How heavy is it? Can I trust you? Coins solved that. A king's face on the metal said, I guarantee this weight and purity. You didn't need to trust the person you were trading with. You trusted the system. And here's the hidden lesson. This is the moment money stopped being about the metal and started being about the institution behind it. The coin wasn't valuable because it was gold. It was valuable because the king said it was gold. The system mattered more than the substance. This is still true. Your dollar isn't valuable because of the paper. It's valuable because the United States government and the Federal Reserve say it is. Trust in the system, as the money. And when trust breaks, when people stop believing in the institution, the money dies. It's happened hundreds of times throughout history. It'll happen again. The lesson? Trust in systems matters more than trust in materials. And that applies to your personal finances too. Your wealth is only as strong as the systems you build around it. But here's the chapter that really changed the game, and it's the one most people have never thought about, because what happened next made it possible to create money from nothing. Chapter 5. Banking and the Magic Trick. In medieval Italy, goldsmiths discovered something dangerous. People deposited gold with them for safekeeping and received paper receipts. But most people never came back for the actual gold, they just traded the receipts. The paper was the money now, so the goldsmiths had a thought. If nobody's coming for the gold, we can lend it out and charge interest, and nobody will know. This is called fractional reserve banking, and it's still how every bank on earth operates today. Your bank does not have your money right now. As you're watching this, roughly 90% of what you deposited has been lent to someone else. The bank is betting that everyone won't ask for their money back at the same time. When everyone does ask, that's a bank run. And that's when the system collapses. It happened in 1929. It happened in 2008. The magic trick only works as long as nobody looks behind the curtain. The lesson: understand what your bank actually does with your money. They're not storing it. They're using it to generate profit and giving you 0.01% for the privilege. Meanwhile, they're lending your deposit at 5, 10, 20% interest. You're the product. Sound familiar? Now this next chapter is short, but it changed everything about how money works, and it's the direct reason inflation exists today. Chapter 6. Paper money and the divorce from gold. For centuries, paper money was a receipt. It represented real gold stored somewhere. You could technically walk into a bank and exchange your bill for the gold it represented. The paper and the gold were married. Then in 1971, President Nixon ended that marriage. The United States unpegged the dollar from gold entirely. Your money was no longer a receipt for anything. It was just paper, backed by nothing but the government's promise. And here's what happened immediately after. Without the gold constraint, governments could print as much money as they wanted. And they did. The money supply expanded. More dollars chasing the same amount of goods. Prices rose. Purchasing power dropped, year after year after year. That's inflation. And it's not a bug, it's a feature of the system. Inflation is built into fiat currency by design. Your money is programmed to lose value over time. Every year you hold cash, you get poorer. Not because you spent it, because the system diluted it. The lesson: cash is a melting ice cube. It has been since 1971. Every dollar you hold loses roughly 2 to 4% of its purchasing power per year. Over a decade, that's 20 to 40% gone, not spent, dissolved. This is why investing isn't optional anymore. It's the only way to outrun the dilution. Here's a contrarian truth: saving money in cash was a smart strategy before 1971. After 1971, it became a guaranteed way to get poorer slowly. The rules changed. Most people's behavior didn't. Now this next chapter is the one we're living in right now, and it contains the most dangerous trap in the entire history of money. Chapter 7. Digital money and invisible spending. In 1950, the first credit card was invented. In 1971, the first electronic money transfer happened. In 2007, the iPhone put a bank in everyone's pocket. And somewhere between then and now, money became invisible. You don't see it leave anymore. You tap, you swipe, you click buy now. The number in your account changes, but you never physically hand anything over. There's no friction, no pain, no pause. And that's the trap. When money was physical, when you handed over gold coins or counted out paper bills, your brain registered the loss. It hurt. That pain was a natural spending brake. Digital money removed the brake entirely. Studies show that people spend 12 to 18% more when using cards versus cash. Not because they have more money, because the spending doesn't feel real. The pain signal is gone. Here's the control. Because for the first time ever, you can spend your entire net worth in 30 seconds from your couch without feeling a thing. Every subscription, every one-click purchase, every auto-renewal, they're all designed to separate you from your money without triggering the pain that would make you stop. The lesson? Make your spending visible again. Check your accounts weekly. Use cash for discretionary spending if you need the friction. Cancel auto-renewals you don't actively use. The system is designed to make money invisible. Your job is to make it visible again. Now this next chapter is the newest and the most controversial, because it's trying to undo everything the last 500 years of banking built. Chapter 8. Cryptocurrency and the Fight for Control. In 2009, someone, or some group, calling themselves Satoshi Nakamoto released Bitcoin. The premise was simple and radical. What if money didn't need a bank? What if money didn't need a government? What if the system could run itself, decentralized, transparent, controlled by math instead of institutions? And here's why this matters whether you own crypto or not. The fight underneath cryptocurrency isn't really about Bitcoin or Ethereum or any specific coin. It's about the oldest question in the history of money: who controls it? For 10,000 years, the answer was whoever had the most power. Kings, emperors, governments, central banks. They controlled the money supply, which meant they controlled the economy, which meant they controlled you. Crypto's argument is, what if nobody controlled it? What if the system was self-governing? The lesson, regardless of where you stand on crypto, understand what it represents: the first serious challenge to centralized money in 5,000 years. Whether it succeeds or fails, it's forcing every government and bank to evolve. And the financial system that emerges from this fight will define how your money works for the rest of your life. Pay attention. Now the final chapter. And this is the one that ties everything together. Chapter 9. The future of money and your place in it. Money started as barter, became shells, became gold, became coins, became paper, became digital, might become decentralized. 10,000 years, 9 transformations, and at every single transition, the same thing happened. The people who understood the new rules won. The people who clung to the old rules lost. When gold replaced barter, the traders who adapted built empires. The ones who kept trying to swap fish for axes disappeared. When paper replaced gold, the bankers who understood credit built dynasties. The ones who hoarded gold watched their influence shrink. When digital replaced paper, the entrepreneurs who understood technology built trillion-dollar companies. The ones who insisted on cash-only businesses got left behind. The form changes, the code doesn't. And the code, the principles that survived every single chapter, is this: money is a story. Understand the story better than everyone else. Liquidity is power. If your wealth can't move, it can't grow. Circulation beats hoarding. Every chapter punished hoarders and rewarded movers. Systems outlast individuals. The kings who built infrastructure outlasted the kings who built palaces. Knowledge is the ultimate currency. At every transition, the informed survived and the ignorant were wiped out. These 5 principles worked during barter. They worked during the gold age. I proved that personally. They worked during the banking era. They work in the digital age. And they'll work in whatever comes next. Because they're not about the form of money. They're about how money moves. And that never changes. Here's what's real. 10,000 years of money, 9 transformations, countless civilizations rising and falling, and through all of it, one pattern holds. The people who understood how money worked built empires. The people who didn't build someone else's. That thread, that code, doesn't care what form money takes. Shells, gold, paper, pixels, it only cares whether you understand it. I built the largest fortune in human history with gold. You're building yours with dollars and index funds. Different form, same code, same math, same game. 10,000 years, and the code hasn't aged a day. That's the code.